Welcome to the Sport and Society Squad pod, aka The SAS. Each week, we bring you 3 sport and society stories to break down and give our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. We ask that you please just be mindful of where you're listening and who you are listening with. With that, let's get into it. I'm here with my co-hosts, Wahidah and Chelsea. What's good, ladies?
Oh
Hey.
my God. Hello. Guys, I'm so happy to be here, but I'm even more happy that my voice is like somewhat back after last week. Thanks for sticking with us. It was kind of a struggle bus. It's a little bit of a struggle bus. Don't tell my doctor. I'm not supposed to be speaking, but like whatever, right? So we're going to break down a few sport and society highlights before we get into the pod. And we're not going to go into full detail with these, but just want to give you a highlight so you're kind of in the know what's going on in the pop culture and sports world. So with that, we're going to start with some baseball news. Baseball postseason is starting this coming week. And we know that the Atlanta Braves, the Orioles, the Los Angeles Dodgers are all in the playoffs. We're a little sad the Mariners didn't make it, but you know what? There's always next season, whatever.
We've been
And then
saying
also,
that for
okay, you know what?
too
These
long.
positive vibes, okay?
We gotta
Needs to
keep
be-
saying it, okay? Manifesting it.
Like
It'll finally
one
be our
day,
year one time.
okay, haterade. Also, in some sad kind of sport news, the Oakland A's played their last game in Oakland. So last game in Oakland this week, or they will play their last game in Oakland. And then they're going to move up to Sacramento for a few months, years. I don't know. Wahidah maybe fill us in, but they're going to be moving to Las Vegas in the coming year. So their stadium's being built, and that's what's going on in the baseball world. For WNBA, the WNBA playoffs are still going on. We've got the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty battling it out. And I kind of hear there's maybe some drama. You guys want to fill me in on that?
Well,
Yeah.
there's not drama. Wahidah, I feel like this is your beef of a week
This
or
is
beef
my
of the.
beef of the week. It might be a little delayed because it was my beef for the first round. My beef with the first round, and this might just be something that is more present for me because the Storm got knocked out in the first round. But the first round, as you all may know, and if not, the first round is 3 games, and the first 2 games of the first round are played at the higher ranking seeds home court. So with the first round this year, the Las Vegas Aces played the Seattle Storm. They had 2 games in Las Vegas, and if they needed the third, they would have played in Seattle. And I feel like, for me, that feels a little unfair because the hometown teams or the opposing team, they don't really get to see, or they don't really get a chance to see their team play. And all of the first round games this season were swept by the higher ranking seed. So it was all like 2 games and done. So I feel like it should either be 1-1-1 if needed, or make them play 5. Yeah.
Yeah, they do it in the NBA. They finally now have 5 in the finals.
I think it's 7 now.
7? Did they?
All of them are 7 now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just one of those things when it's only 3 games, switching 1-1-1 is a lot of travel during a playoff game. And so that doesn't quite make sense, I think, because usually NBA, it's like 2 home, 2 away, and then it splits where that last one is. And so that's where, because of the 3 game, it's so quick. And it used to be, I think, where they had the first game they had it flipped, and the first game would be at the away, and then the last 2 would be at the higher seed. And I actually was listening to Sue Bird talk about this on her podcast, where she preferred as a player the current format because you wanted to it just like depended on, I guess, if you were the higher seed, it works better in your favor, and I guess that's why you're a higher seed. But I just vote for 5 games because 3 games just feels really quick when you only get 2 at the away. If you're the lower seed, you have to go in and really fight your way through.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe it's a great time for them to make that shift because they are expanding. So there will be more teams. Just I feel like it's the right time. Maybe to start thinking about that conversation. Anyway, I know we weren't supposed to go into depth about this topic.
We
but
like
we
women's
could.
basketball.
I mean,
Kill
that
us.
was drama. That for me, that was drama. Okay, well, in some more WNBA drama, the Chicago Sky fired Teresa Witherspoon. So I guess in a shocking move, I'm not saying I guess because I don't think it's, not shocking. I just don't know. They Chicago Fire have no, the Chicago Sky. You guys, I don't know why this Chicago Fire stuff is so hard for me, but the Chicago Sky fired their head coach, Teresa Witherspoon. And I guess they had a turbulent season, and they're now searching for a head coach. So there's some tea there. I'm sure we can break down.
Well, I mean, the Chicago Sky. You're gonna have me say it, the Chicago Sky Fire.
I mean, the Chicago Sky lit the sky on fire by firing.
Well,
Teresa Witherspoon.
That is Angel Reese's team. So everyone who don't know that, they can associate with why this is kind of drama is because this was after her only has coached there 1 year. And so that is usually controversial when you get a new coach in and you're trying to rebuild and shake things up. The fact that you got 1 year to turn everything around and then you're out feels very, that's the controversial part. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't set her up for success.
Yeah.
And it was kind of shady.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies, Teresa. I feel for you deeply. In the WNBA news, Derrick Rose announced his retirement. So after 15 years in the NBA, former MVP Derrick Rose announced his retirement from basketball. Wahidah, tell us, I know you're kind of filling in our highlights out here, but wasn't there something like a bachelor moment, Roses? Give me more.
Yeah, I mean, it's fitting, right? Because his name is Derrick Rose. So it was really sweet. I read that he sent roses to former teammates and former coaches that made an impact on his career. And then he also took out a 1-page ad in the local newspaper for all of the cities he played in to thank the fans for their impact on his tenure in the NBA. So it's really sweet. He also is the youngest MVP to ever win that award in the league. So, I don't think he ever...
He didn't get to where everyone expected him to be, and it was because of injuries. He was really plagued with injuries, and so it was really sad. You saw him the MVP was going great. They got hit with bad injury, and so it's a kind of a sad, almost like a what if as he retires. Is he had also a lot to overcome mentally through all his injuries and kind of the expectations he had. So that's also a little bittersweet there.
I feel kind of a classy way to go out.
Well, I feel like an idiot though that I'm just putting together why he was giving out roses. And I legit was like, oh my god, that's so cute and classy. It's because it is okay.
Okay. You got there.
That's a great transition into the football NFL arena for me personally. Brett Favre also announced that he has Parkinson's, his diagnosis. So former NFL quarterback Brett Favre revealed he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. This comes after an ongoing scrutiny regarding his involvement in a scandal where he allegedly misappropriated welfare funds meant for Mississippi's underprivileged communities. So that's a wah-wah for Brett Favre all around. And then for some soccer, FIFA select Lumen Field for the 2025 World Cup. So shout out Sounders. We're going to get a World Cup game here in 2026. So
I think,
or no, it's 2025.
I think we get 3 of the 3 matches.
Okay. Those tickets are going to be hard to get, but hallelujah. I mean, this is coming after Seattle. It's just kind of become a hub for soccer in the United States. So really excited to see that, and shout out Sounders and our club for getting that recognition. And then in a little culture news, Demi Lovato also supported some new legislation with California Governor Gavin Newsom. So signing in new legislation that will protect and properly compensate children who are featured in social media content, which I feel like is huge. I can't believe that hasn't happened until now, but love to see it. And then I feel like I keep having to relay this sad news. Like last episode, giving like sad news, and here I am just giving another wah, wah, wah. We do want to give our flowers and appreciation though, because legend Maggie Smith did pass away at 89. She was a beloved actress for her roles, and she was known for her roles in Downton Abbey and obviously Harry Potter. I know that this is like the most millennial cringe shit we'll do, but like wands up bitches, like in honor of our queen Maggie.
Oh my gosh, Professor McGonagall, R.I.P. Mischief managed.
Yes. I will also add another sad news that just came out of the NBA today. Dikembe Mutombo, legendary center, big man, Hall of Famer, passed away this morning, I believe, or earlier today, due to brain cancer. So he had a long battle with brain cancer and passed away. He did a lot, not only on the court. I think he set a lot of standards on the court, but also in community and just how to act as a human being. So definitely a sad one there, especially as we approach basketball season as well. So I'm interested to see how former teams kind of acknowledge that as well. But with that said, always a large huddle, a great huddle, Chelsea. I feel like there are so many topics we can go into, just so little time, because we want to keep, our pod just manageable. But listeners, let us know if there are topics that we cover in our huddle that you would like us to expand upon. I think we all would love to go into greater depth with more of these topics, but again, little time. We have to manage that. But for now, let's get into our playbook for today. We will start off with kicking off a story with all of the latest buzz in name, image, and likeness that's going on. We will also discuss our favorite sports movies. And then we'll conclude with a little NFL WAG education moment. And Chelsea will take us through that one. But with that, Arissan, can you kick us off?
Yes. So this one I feel like is we're going name, image, likeness, or probably what you all have heard it referred to as NIL and NILs. And it's a NIL, if you will.
If you've ever heard of a Neil. No, I'm sorry.
So this is a little bit more, I'm going to do a little bit of breakdown of what kind of NILs are, what's kind of going on with the controversy. Some of you might have seen what's going down with the UNLV quarterback, or Reggie Bush just sued. I see it's okay, Chelsea. I'm going to get into it so that you will know by the end of this section and will feel educated to talk whatever you need to talk about NILs. So,
NIL.
Yeah. So NILs are, well, what's interesting with NIL actually is just name, image, likeness, but people are referring to NILs as if like partnerships and deals, but NIL itself just means name, image, likeness. So that's one thing. So with the NCAA, for the longest time, student athletes in college could not make any money. They had to be amateur athletes, any money off their name, image, likeness, or any way, right? They could get scholarships. I think they eventually could get maybe some stipends within those scholarships, but anything else could mean that you lose, like you could get in trouble, the school could get in trouble, you could get in trouble that there has been cases, there has been workarounds, there has been Heisman trophies taken away and given back and things like that. But like, I think it's important to note, like the student athlete, NCAA started that in the 1950s to avoid having to treat college athletes as employees. And so,
which is wild.
Right?
Because they're making money off of them anyway.
Right? Yep, exactly. So they didn't want to claim them as employees. And then there was a case in like 1955. Ray Dennison was a lineman for Fort Lewis A&M. He had suffered a skull injury during a 1955 game and passed away. And then when his widow filed a death benefits claim, it was initially approved but then denied on appeal because he was neither a student nor a worker, because he was in the student athlete field. And so because student athlete's its own thing. Because students in college, if you're a student but you're not an athlete, You can have brand partnerships. You can have deals. You can get money, but student athletes can't.
That's crazy.
So it's its own category.
So
okay,
backwards.
So that's like
okay.
the background. And then kind of the first big case that has kind of started the ball moving for NILs to happen, or again, I'm using NILs like generally how they're used in like partnerships now, is in 2014. So what? That was a decade ago. There was a case, O'Bannon versus NCAA, where a former UCLA basketball player, Ed O'Bannon, filed on behalf of NCAA Division I football, sued the NCAA and went against pretty much sued the NCAA and said, hey, this is antitrust. You are using name, image, likeness and profiting off of it, and people aren't getting, right, it's antitrust, copyright, all these things. And he won. So he won that appeal, but pretty much it was the first like landmark case that said, you're right, it violated antitrust. And so then fast forward to now, in 2021, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that NCAA's rules restricting benefits to athletes was unconstitutional. And that's what paved the ways for states to decide whether to allow student athletes profit off of NIL deals. And previously, athletes were not permitted to receive any benefits except through scholarships. Okay. Are we following?
We're following, and it's also kind of weird because I did not know this. Not all student athletes receive scholarships.
Right. Well, not all student athletes receive scholarships, and depending on the school, like I remember going to like Portland State, and it's by sport, or certain, like for example, the football team got X amount of scholarships, and they had so many scholarships, whereas like the track team maybe had, I don't know the number, but like 5 or 10. And so then what they would do is they would split up the scholarship money among multiple athletes. So some athletes could at least get some sort of compensation, but that doesn't necessarily mean a full ride. And so after this ruling, it just allowed states and schools to say like, oh, we can do this. So then what's happening now, and what's kind of one of the many sticky issues, is not all states have passed NIL laws. Some have, some are in the works, and it's varying based. And just I think in August 2024, they have just said that schools can help officially like partner with NIL to help students get NIL partnerships, because before NCAA couldn't help. And so that is all happening, but we're seeing almost like an inequity, and like, you know, the bigger schools or the people more are getting better NIL deals. Students are trying to pick schools based on what kind of NIL deals they can get. And I think they're trying to make rules, because if you're in a conference where one school is doing NIL deals and the other, then it's kind of making unfair competitiveness within divisions. And so that's all sticky, but that's just NIL. There's still a fight against the NCAA because they are making all this money from college athletes. And technically, they're a nonprofit, but again, that doesn't necessarily, just because there's like different classes of nonprofit, and just because an organization is a nonprofit does not mean that they're like the nonprofit that you maybe think of, that, you know, salaries are not getting paid and they're just making like money just enough so that they can be helping the causes that they're doing. I think the NFL was a nonprofit. I don't know if they're still a nonprofit. NBA was. NBA also was a nonprofit. Have finally switched over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got to imagine when you think of NFL and stuff as a nonprofit, that kind of makes you laugh. Because about 60% of the NCAA's annual revenue, they say, is distributed directly to Division I members, schools, and conferences. But students can't get paid by the NCAA. But coaches can. So, for example, because I think this is just crazy.
Coaches can. Chelsea, and when you hear how much coaches get paid.
So do you know Nick Saban, who recently retired, but he was the head coach for Alabama football
Okay.
for many, many years. Very successful coach, right? In his 2022 season, he was making $10.7 million in salary
In one season.
in one season. And
Oh,
so
no.
yeah.
I'm like,
So the money is going back, sure, but the athletes aren't seeing it. And so
Yeah.
that is what now you're seeing is Reggie Bush, if you all remember Reggie Bush, Chelsea. He is now suing the NCAA, his school, and then what was the one other him? I can't remember. Maybe it's the division. Um, but anyways, he's suing and saying, hey, not only because he also, for folks, won Reggie Bush back in 2005. He won the Heisman. They took that Heisman away from him in 2010 because they said because of him
Allegedly receiving
allegedly,
money.
yep. And then they gave it back to him this year, I think it was. So he just
Yeah.
recently got it back and is now allowed to go to Heisman ceremonies and things, but they took it away from him. So now he's suing and saying like, hey, now that all this stuff is happening, it was unfair. And it's also now becoming a civil rights suit
oh, shit.
because
Yeah.
it's pretty much saying like, you use my body and profited off my body and my image and again, name, image, likeness. And so that is kind of the big deal. The also thing with the UNLV quarterback that's going around is the quarterback, I think his name's Matthew Solka. He left a school, like he just left, like I think he had played a game, maybe
Yeah.
2 games
Of the season.
of this season and was like, peace, I'm leaving because you said that you would give me $100,000 and you only have given me $3,000 for helping me get with NIL partnerships. And so he just left.
Where'd he
And
go?
then to stay
Transfer
tuned,
portal.
but yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. Don't know. Just like he can't transfer mid-season for college. And so then other people have been like, oh, I'll cover your 100,000. Like other people have said that, but then the school's like, no, we've already severed ties. But then the UNLV O line was like, hey, you want to pay $100,000? The O line would have happy to take that money because they are not receiving like any money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to stop for a second. What are the questions? What are the thoughts? This is really like very interesting.
Yeah. Chelsea, do you have any questions? Because I have thoughts.
I don't think I have questions. I mean, my only you guys can't answer this question. I don't think. I wonder what it does to the dynamics of the team. You know what I mean? Like if one player is getting compensated so much more than the others, like what does that do to a team? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
You're right.
in the NFL too, but it's just interesting.
That's true. I mean, we can't answer that, but I think we've seen cases where, like, say, for example, Angel Reese, who was one of those names that got, a lot of name, image, and likeness deals because of her stardom, right? I think she really leveraged that to help out her teammates, where any deal that she had a shoe, like, like she got free shoes from, I think shoes with Reebok. She would hand that out to not only her teammates, but she would give shoes to the like men's basketball team as well. So she would use her kind of benefits to benefit her teammates as well. And I think we see that with like quarterbacks who buy their O-line gifts during the season because, they recognize that they're making the most money and their O-line is there to protect them during the game. So
you would just
I think,
define O-line for the fans that may not know.
yeah.
I know.
Offensive line
The offensive line,
in
yes.
football. The people that line up in front of the quarterback.
Quarterback. Yes. Good question, Chelsea. But a few thoughts off the top of my head. I think, there's some benefits, of course, and then also there's a shadow side to all of this. Arissan, you mentioned some of the things when it comes to recruiting. I think athletes now probably also looking at what schools can get them the greatest name and image likeness, like deals and sponsorships and opportunities. And they're not necessarily looking at the schools, that may not have those opportunities as much. And I think that can help, not help, but that would definitely skew kind of the who goes to what team, and the how well the success of those teams, and it kind of removes the equity piece. Like, I think on the other side, it's beneficial to the athlete because we know how much work they put into playing each week. Like, I remember watching the student athletes at our school just like have to go to class, and then they have to go to practice, and then they have conditioning and all of these things, right? They have to watch tape. It takes a lot of time and energy. And I'm glad that they're beginning to be able to profit off of their work and their likeness, whereas the schools have always been able to do that. So that's a benefit there. And then also, I think as far as recruiting is concerned, a shadow side to it. And then I feel like one thing that I would love to acknowledge is this gender equity. I think for so many years, male athletes in the sports have always gotten a little bit more attention, especially if we talk about football and basketball. They've dominated the conversation, and the money, right? But now female athletes are making waves, right? We mentioned Angel Reese, and I think another LSU athlete named Olivia Dunn has secured a lot of NIL deals, I think, in the last year or during her time at LSU. Yeah, Paige Buckets. Like, there's so many female athletes now that are finally getting to lean into that space, and I think that just kind of continues to increase their value, not only in their sport, but for women as a whole, like as athletes. But you also brought up a really good point, Arissan, around regulation. We talked a little bit about this last week when we talked about the videos for the Jordan Childs case, and how that's impacting sports, and how could it start to impact how folks review plays and make calls on certain plays within a game. But this is a whole nother conversation as well, because certain states have rules, but there's no federal regulation for it. And I believe there were a few commentators that made a really good point about how this is just a wild, wild west at this point. And folks are kind of just doing their own thing. And that's not really fair, right? In the grand scheme of things. So I don't know where I land with this. Like, I love it on one hand. I love that we get some athlete empowerment and gender equity because of the NIL. Then on the other hand, I feel as though it can cause some inequities in how schools are able to recruit, and also how they're regulating it all as a whole.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see more coming out. I think it'll be interesting to see what will change when schools are able to actually, in the NCAA, will actually be able to pay athletes, because right now it's through these NIL partnerships where that money is coming from. I also think what's an interesting element here too is when we went to school, we didn't really have social media, and so these athletes are becoming influencers, right? That's how some of them, they're great at their sport. There's a lot of college athletes that are great at their sport, but some of these folks are getting brand deals because they were also content creators. And as I have feelings about this, because it also, yes, it's part of their job and get your money, but then there also feels like I don't want to be like the old grandma yelling about
I'll argue
it takes the purity out of sports a little bit, and the showmanship is doing it for the gram or whatever. And it's the fact that I've seen this quite a bit, and it's not just college athletes. I see this with professional athletes when they're on their phone posting during halftime, and they're on social media and doing these things at practice. And I'm not saying that they're not dedicated and focused, but seriously, as a coach, and I'm talking with middle school kids, they're on their phone wanting to do TikTok videos during practice. It's it changes the game itself into more a me, let me get my money game.
Yeah.
And
did you
just to argue back, but if you think about not everyone's going to be a pro. If you're
right,
say you're not, there's a limited amount of spots. So if you're at your peak, this is like what you've put all of your time, your effort, your focus in. Why not secure the bag? Like, you should be able.
Well, and that's,
I don't
I
disagree.
I agree with securing the bag. It's like, to your question about how that changes team dynamics.
Yeah.
That is interesting to me, because I've heard some coaches be like, they've had to see someone's been on their phone while they're like playing, and then they're getting benched, right? It's like,
Yeah.
then what becomes that priority? And some of the top, I was looking at the like top 5 kind of athletes with the most brand deals, because some of these, and it's not the majority, are like making like millions of dollars, right? But that's not the majority. There's like small and big ones, but like 3 of the top 5 are celebrity athletes' kids. You got Bronny James, you got Deion Sanders' kid, you got who's the other one? I can't remember off the top of my head, but you've got these kids that, again, they are talented. They deserve probably to like do what they're doing, but also because of their celebrity family, they're getting more recognition here to be able to secure those deals. And so it's
Which
just
is
the
not
point of
fair.
equity. And it's,
Yeah.
so
And I
there's
also
no
think
answer,
about
and it's Wild West, like you said.
it is the Wild Wild West, yeah. And Arissan, like you mentioning how it kind of takes the authenticity out of the game a little bit because folks are doing it, quote unquote, for the gram. I just remember there was this video kind of floating around on Twitter, and it was following a Little League. I think it was a Little League AAU. I don't know if it was AAU, but it was a Little League basketball game. These kids are maybe like, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, and they're like, blinged out. They're wearing sleeves. Why do they need sleeves on their arm? I doubt they actually even know what it's for. Some of the kids had like fake, temporary tattoos on their arms because that's what they're seeing in the league. And the way that they were playing, they were really playing for individual shine and not necessarily for team shine. And so you see the impact kind of trickle all the way down, right? Like you see these young kids who are starting to mimic these athletes that they look up to. And I don't say that they don't deserve to be looked up to because they are wonderful athletes, but it's starting to impact how folks are being brought up in the game and how folks are playing even at a very, very young age as well. So we can see that impact. We might see that impact how the game is played later on.
I think we're kind of already seeing it in some ways because of college basketball, men's basketball. I would say wow, this is a strong opinion I'm about to just like throw out into the universe right now. Don't come at me. Yeah,
bring the
but
sass.
That men's basketball, like the NCAA College March Madness, dipped in viewership. Even like NBA has like dipped in viewership because the game of like the way that basketball is being played on the men's side, it's a lot more like I call like hero ball, individual ball, and it's not as like the same kind of like team dynamic ball. Like there's always been flashy, there's always been like the star players, but it's basketball is how especially men's basketball and boys basketball are being played is different. And the women's basketball is getting all this attention too because even like NBA greats are like women's ball is like the pure form of basketball. There's how they're playing is different. And there's like a drop in viewership because it's almost like boring when you're watching a basketball game and they're not like, they're just like, you could just see the one person that's like scoring all the points. Like it's not the fun team dynamic in the same kind of way. It can get boring. And so it will be interesting. That trickle down, I think, has already started to happen. And we'll see if it will continue or what they're going to do to get those kind of like viewerships back up. Or maybe women's basketball is just going to be up. So
which
anyways,
we're not mad about.
I'm done. I'm done with my beef. We'll keep following this.
For sure.
I see wheels churning.
I don't know. There's a lot of things in my brain.
This is a juicy section.
It's giving juicy. This was very educational. It's giving juicy couture on the butt. I like on the tracksuit. Everyone asked for that. Anyways, I worked there. That's a hot tip. Anyways, is it a tip or a fact? I don't know. Anyways, I learned a lot through this. Like, to be quite honest, the only thing I really knew about this, it was the name Reggie Bush. And that's because if you don't know, now you do. He was dating Kim
Just the name.
Kardashian at the time. That was where like I was plugged in. I was like, oh my God, Reggie. Like because of that. He, you know, she was in love with him like so hardcore. Like it was everything. Like his name was dropped on that show constantly. And so that's how I know who that man is. And then never mind. I'm not gonna even go into that because he's like married to a lookalike. It's a whole thing. There's drama there. Okay. Anyway, what I was gonna say, and this is like so crazy, but recently, like in the last 6 weeks, I rewatched The Blind Side. That's a wild movie. You guys know with Sandra Bullock, like Michael Orr, their family. I think there's also drama there, but
Yes.
just based on the movie. So let's just take it out what the movie is. I will say when he was getting scouted like for different teams, this whole thing was happening too. Like it wasn't name, image, and likeness, but like this whole like colleges coming and saying we're gonna give you XYZ deal. Like this is already happening. I get that this is just like putting it on another, like heightening that and maybe the individuality of it, but like it's already happening. So I think that part of this is like, yes, it's a big deal. They should be compensated, but like just because if they get compensated, it's not like this thing is going to go away. Like this issue is already here. So I think that it's kind of like a moot point. It almost, because it's just like these schools are going to figure out how to, you know, get the people that they need regardless. Like they're promising LJ or whatever his name was to walk on the field. Like they were doing whatever they could to get Michael Oher to their school. So like this is happening. That's my hot take. I think the players should be compensated. They're at their like peak, but I hear you. And I also, this whole, I mean, I hadn't really ever thought about it before, but like the whole conversation of like how it changes like team dynamics and like how the game is played is really interesting. And it does, like, it sucks that if it's changing and people are like literally on their phones in the middle of the game, like that's just booty. It's not like fun to watch someone create content on national television. So those are my thoughts. I don't know. I don't really have much more than that, but vibes. And I'm here and I'd like to learn more.
Well, like Arissan said, I think it's a juicy topic. I'm sure we'll hear more about the headlines and likely, you know, circle back to this conversation. I don't think we're just scratching the surface. So we'll definitely return to it, probably on another pod. But Chelsea, you brought up The Blind Side, and, you know, I think we all love a good sports moment. We all love a good sports movie. I think when it comes to sports on the big screen, especially as a non-athlete, right? Like self-proclaimed non-athlete, I think there's really something special about how it captures like all of the drama and the emotion, some of the inspiration too. Like I always feel like I could go out there and play sport after I watch a movie, and like, let's be real, I don't think I actually can. But for me, I think some of my all-time favorites include the Mighty Ducks series, especially Mighty Ducks 2. Like, I mean, who doesn't love a flying V? And I feel like Charlie Conway and Flying V.
Did you say a flying V?
You have to watch the movie, but it's a move that they do to score against the other team.
Literally,
That's another hot take. But you know, Charlie Conway and Luis Mendoza, who were played by Joshua Jackson, who I love, and Mike Fattar.
Joshua Jackson.
Love Joshua Jackson, and then Mike Fattar, who was in The Sandlot, which is another sports movie. When he was a kid,
was he mean boy in The Sandlot, like the hottie that everyone was like had a crush on? I hate that I called it a hottie. That's disgusting.
But
I mean, to be fair, you were young when you watched
much
it.
Younger.
You were crushing on him as a kid, right?
Yeah.
You're just reflecting back. You're
so
like, not...
I was crushing on him watching him in Mighty Ducks 2. So we were a little older, but feel you on that. And then of course there's Remember the Titans. That's also one of my favorite movies. I feel like it had everything, right? It had heart, it had history. Denzel Washington with his inspirational tweets, speeches.
Can you imagine?
It would have been so funny.
That's why
but you know, okay, Deion Sanders.
But like also remember Hayden Panettiere being in that
Oh
movie,
my
like
God.
cursing out the refs, like cursing out.
Hayden
How do you
Panettiere.
say? How do you say her name?
Hayden Panettiere, right? Am I
Yeah.
saying it wrong?
No, that's right.
Hayden Panettiere.
Panty
Fuck
tear.
it, whatever. You said
Anyway,
Panettiere.
we all know who we're talking about. She was in Heroes as well, but I remember her just on the sidelines yelling at all the players, like for not doing anything right. And I feel like that was, if you guys want a glimpse of me as a cheerleader, that was me as a cheerleader.
Yeah, I see that.
I didn't know what I was talking about, but I was talking to them instead of talking to the refs. But then there's also Hustle, which is a newer one. I love that movie. I think I've seen it already 4 or 5 times. It's been out for a few years, but Adam Sandler.
That movie.
No.
Oh, wait, I
that's
have seen it.
Hustle.
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 I mean, that's like Hustlers is also a sports movie. They're doing some action
Yeah,
on the
they're
pole.
they're dancing. But you know, Adam Sandler in a serious role. I wasn't sure what to expect there, but I really appreciated it. And he's scouting like NBA talent. He had Queen Latifah as his wife.
That was a good movie. I forgot
Can't
about
beat that. That was a really good movie. And then if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on Netflix, I believe. And then I can't forget my favorite TV show, Swagger. I know we're talking about movies, but I just talked to Arissan about this. It was a show executive produced by Kevin Durant, which shout out to him. His birthday was this past week. So Seattle legend. We love him. But it's loosely based on his story. And, you know, we were talking about how the things that are happening kind of at that higher professional level trickle down and influence kind of kids at a younger level. But this show starts with kids playing basketball in middle school. So it follows them through like competitive basketball at a very, very young age. And it's loosely based on his story. I was so devastated when that show was canceled. So I would recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it. But
it's on Apple TV.
Sleeper Take. Yeah, Apple TV. Sleeper Take. I don't know if most folks will say that this is a sports movie, but I'm going to argue that it is. Bring It On with competitive cheerleading.
Okay.
Absolutely, right? That's
Absolutely.
She was in the second one, right? Or the remake? I'm talking about the original with Gab and Kirsten Dunst, like the original. That's a classic. So those are some of my favorites. Kind of span the gamut, right? Like sports all over the place.
Do you have any moments you hate? Like any sports moments you hate?
Scenes?
Oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I will think of some for you.
It's okay
if you like.
Like it's fine.
I try to block those.
I
try to block those out of my memory. You know.
Scene?
Oh, I didn't watch that. Tell me about it.
Well, it's not my favorite. No. I mean, I'm a supporter for sure. I'm a supporter. Like, you know, Arissan can go into that haterade in a minute here, but you know what? I love this topic so much. Like, I know it's not a sport or a society story, but I think it's important for us to discuss. And I'd love to hear from our listeners, like what their favorite movies are, or if there's any we should watch. Cause like, what was the last one you said?
Hustle?
Bring It On. Oh, Hustle.
Swagger?
No, Swagger. I've never heard of that in my life. Like, TV show. I'm going to need to inquire more about that, but okay. I'm really thinking.
You said not a sports topic, but it is.
But it's not like current. It's not like current.
Like this isn't like, you know, maybe we will make waves and it will become a story, but like I don't know. Like
Chelsea and I are about to fight.
Yeah, we're about to throw hands, but I don't even have a voice. It doesn't feel like a fair fight, but whatever. Okay, my favorite.
That's the reason.
Like, it's true. Like you don't know what vocals can do to a person. Anyway, my favorite movie, and I'm gonna go out here and say this, and this is really crazy. Like, it's not just like my favorite sports movie; it's a top favorite all-time movie for me. Like, I am obsessed with this movie. Like, Sean and I, my husband, we play this game when we like want to talk to people, and we just like we're being so boring. We'll ask people like, what's their top 5 favorite movies? I know that's like a lot to put people on the spot, but it's like such a conversation starter. And he takes notes.
It would stress me out.
Literally written them down. So we'll be like, oh no, we know that you love this movie. Why? I don't know, but it's fun. Anyways, one of mine is the movie Miracle. Have y'all seen it?
No, haven't even heard of
Yes.
it.
Whoa.
So here we are learning.
Whoa.
Haven't heard of it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
It
a
is about-
surprise.
It is a huge surprise. It is about the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, men's hockey team. And it's when
Oh.
they beat Russia in the Olympics. And they had like no professional players. They're all college. And Russia was like powerhouse, had won it for like 8 Olympics in a row or whatever. And we
Were
beat
they
them.
playing in Russia?
No, they're
Was this
playing
the
in
one?
Lake.
Oh,
And the
okay.
Olympics.
It was the
Okay.
Olympics. And that's where the USA chant started, if you
Whoa.
can believe.
Oh,
I forgot that.
Yeah.
fun fact. I did not
we
know that.
fact checked it, but I'm almost 97% sure that's where it started.
Fun fake fact. We don't know for sure.
Fact that I will start today. But see, this is why we're going to be making plays. But I'll also say, like, I watched this for the first time. I was also sick, and I was in my dorm room in college. I like, what is it when you like go on the internet and like get a movie you're not like supposed to? I probably shouldn't be admitted.
Pirated.
Pirating.
So I was pirating under the influence of NyQuil, and so I blame it on them. And I was like, this will put me to bed, right? And this is like a theme for me. I will always pick a movie to go to bed, and sometimes they turn out to be like the best movies I've ever seen. I put this on, and let me tell you, I've never been more patriotic in my life. Like, I was just like, like so into it. I'm almost positive this is like propaganda from the US government. Like, this movie is a way. Like, if you need to like get reinvigorated and feel like I love USA, just put the movie on. Like, this is it. So that's my argument. Like, everyone, please go watch Miracle. There's also a really famous line in the movie where the players are like, and I don't think this is spoiling anything because it was like, I don't know, 40 years
Spoiler
ago.
alert.
Players were like,
It's like based on a true story, so
what?
it's already happened.
And,
Spoiler
like,
alert, this happened in 1980.
like just in case you don't know or are unaware, but the players were like, apparently during one of the games they were like losing and they were looking at girls like in the stadium like, oh, they're so hot, and the coach was like so pissed off that, speak of Arissan, like not focused on the game. I guess this is not real. This is not a new theme. Anyways, he holds them after the game and makes them just like do lines like the whole time until they turn the lights off in the whole arena. And the whole time he just keeps going again. And it's like a famous line in our household. Like, if I need something, like if Sean stops rubbing my foot, I'm like, again. Like, it's just like something that like has to happen. So anyways, I will shut up, but I do want to give like 2 honorable mentions. One, obviously, to Remember the Titans. My brother and I like knew that whole dance before their games. Like, we could do that. We'd put the VCR on, it'd finish, we'd be like, do it again. We'd just watch it all day. And then I think this is a sports movie, Dodgeball. Like, full stop, dodge, duck, dip, dive, dodge. That shit is funny as fuck. No one makes me laugh harder than Ben Stiller, the man. And yeah, if you need a giggle and you want to get inspired, watch it. Average Joe's Gym. Let's go.
Is it Ben Stiller that's going to be starring in the new pickleball movie that they're going to do?
Oh my God, don't tell me this. Is he really?
Is it Ben Stiller? Or I know that they're going to be, it's either the makers of Dodgeball or
Oh my
something
God,
like that.
What?
And it's good. It's like a new movie with pickleball. So
Which, by
I
the
think
way, for listeners
go
out
with
there aren't aware, pickleball got its start in the Pacific Northwest. So
yes,
we have to
in
shout that
specifically Bainbridge Island.
Well, can I also just, and maybe to transition us like to where we're going to beef, I do have one movie that I do hate on, and it is no shade or anything to Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, but what the fuck was it called? Fever Pitch.
Fever Pitch. Is that a sports movie? It's like a.
It
Is
is
it more of
because
a rom-com?
all about
Yeah.
the Boston. It's
Red Sox?
Yay, you did it. Yes.
but she hit in the face with a baseball. Like,
Yeah.
no. Like, I'm sure it's supposed to be like funny, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like, to me, it feels like it could happen and has instilled a fear in me. But anyways, To you,
Those are yours.
Arissan.
Well, here's the thing. I know that we can go on a tangent and it's not anything related to like what's going currently, but I will say sports movies do like get folks interested in sports. It tells stories of like events in sports that maybe people wouldn't normally happen like know about. So shout out to sports movies. There actually was just Netflix just released this past week Res Ball, which was executive produced by LeBron James. So it's about it's a basketball movie based in Navajo, correct? Navajo
Nation, New Mexico specifically.
So that just came out. It was good. It was a good story. I sometimes have problems with basketball movies or any sports movies where I'm familiar with the sport and I feel like the sport itself is not as good, or you could tell the people are more actors than they are
not athletes.
Know how to like athletes or how to play the sport. So no, don't get started. Let me give my Chelsea. Okay. My favorite sports movie of all time.
Can we before you go on? Yeah. I would say I would recommend Res Ball because it is a great story.
Yes, it is.
And just acknowledging, the indigenous story as well. So I love that piece of it. The basketball playing might not be as great, but the story in and of itself is really great.
Yeah. That wasn't like I think everyone should watch it, support it. And the basketball piece is actually like it's a bigger part, but it's the smaller part when they're doing like the basketball sequences. So, I enjoyed it. I definitely cried. So it made me cry there. So therefore,
we love a sports movie.
We love a sports movie that makes you cry. It hits the mark. But my favorite sports movie of all time is Hoosiers, which is a basketball movie. And it was probably the first, I think as a kid, I think my dad or a parent showed it to me. So it was my first, it's based in the 1950s, Indiana basketball team making it to the state championship. Talk about just overall feel good classic movie. So that's for sure it. And also hard pivot. I also was obsessed with Bend It Like Beckham.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I was like super high.
That's a words brought to me.
Yes, the whole thing about a little controversial, like looking back at it now, like the whole coach-player relationship.
Sure.
Yeah. But that one, and also She's the Man was like an obsessive movie that I would watch all the time. Now it feels weird because of Amanda Bynes. But those were kind of like I like the serious sports movies. I love the serious sports movies, but I also like a good, like, funny sports movie. But there's for sure the worst sports scene in cinema history.
You would say ever?
Yes. That I have seen with my eyeballs. Okay. I haven't seen everything, so I can't say.
Oh, you haven't.
The ones I haven't seen everything. Is freaking Double Team, the Disney Channel original movie with the freaking twins, sisters, basketball movie.
Heather and Heidi. Give them
final. No,
which is based on a true story too.
Okay,
based on two actual players.
I'm talking about the worst scene. Is at the end after she's come back from injury. They put her in. She's got the ball. They're counting down. Fucking travels and she does this like stupid like sway, and it's like a montage sway where she's like back and forth moving her feet. Oh my God.
Okay.
Made me so fucking angry. Still does.
When you asked me that question, I didn't recall like a terrible scene, but that one definitely I think takes the cake. It's a bad one.
It's so bad. And I was literally just talking to Sophia about it last night.
Like you mentioned, like sports scenes now, even there's still some discrepancies with how you would actually play the game. Yeah. But I would argue they've gotten way better than that. That was so
cool. I'm sorry it was accessible for girls who didn't play basketball and thought they could fly after that. Like that that was an entry point for some of us, okay? I was Heidi at my next door neighbor's house like the day after I saw them. Like, you're Heather, I'm Heidi.
Oh my gosh.
Acting. Though I'm pretty sure
No.
it's so whatever, but
It is a travel. It's the worst. I was literally talking to Sophia last night and I said, yeah, we're going to talk about the worst scene. And she goes, double teamed when she
Easy.
travels. And I'm like, yeah, easy. Everyone knows that I was enjoying the movie until that scene. And then they ruined the whole freaking movie because of that. So that's it.
You
That's
had
my
to
hot
turn it
take.
off.
That's a bold
We're right. You're wrong, Chelsea.
We'll let the fans decide, the listeners decide.
I can't. I'm a sports purist. That's even like with The Matrix. This is not even a sports movie. Listen.
Let's talk about pivot
beef.
here.
The
What is
beef
this?
was the movie in Matrix when Keanu Reeves does a sidekick and then he brings his leg all the way around and sets it to the side and doesn't chamber it and like bring his actually leg back properly. Pissed me off so hard. It
We
made
have
me
to
dislike
let
that
the
movie.
listeners know why you even know that.
Oh, because I am a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, so
The rest of us are like, oh, cool fight scene, but
yeah, everyone's like, oh, that looks so cool, and I was like, wrong form. That's so bad. That's such bad form. Okay.
Like, are you able to read fantasy novels? Like, be creative? Like, go outside
I
the
love
box?
fantasy novels. That's
like,
fantasy.
no, that wouldn't happen. That
That's
wouldn't
like-
happen in the real world.
Yeah, exactly. It's fantasy for a reason.
Well, The Matrix isn't real either. I hate to tell you that right now, but like, it's not real.
Chelsea, get us away from here before we like come across that
For
screen.
sure,
and we
for
start
sure.
fighting.
Like, let's argue through the phone, kind of like a twist on Kiss Me Through the Phone. Anyways, whatever. I think we could wrap up this really quick with just like a small education moment, and I want to do this for us. Let's do an NFL WAG education / I don't know, update.
What is wagging?
Okay, well, goddamn, give me a sec here.
Sorry.
First off, we've been talking about NFL a lot, and we haven't been talking about the wives and girlfriends. Okay, we have not been talking about who
Loud
I'm
and clear. My gosh.
Thank you. I know my voice is back. I'm using it. So, anyway, like I said in our first episode, what really drew me back into the NFL specifically was my girl Taylor Swift. And I think just, a good thing for us to do this week is maybe to give a breakdown on who some of the most popular NFL WAGs, wives, and girlfriends are for the listeners. So
there will be a quiz on this after the call.
Literally a fight. Let's see if we show up next week. No, just kidding. I think it's good to go through who these girlies are, what they're, what to look for during the games, because, that's what I'm doing. So I picked five main girls that like I see come across my timeline frequently. I want to tell you who they are, what they do, who they're related to, and then I want to hear from y'all who you know. So first and foremost, we're going to kick it off with my Lord and Savior, Taylor Swift. I don't really think we need to give too much of an explanation, but she's a singer-songwriter and she's the girlfriend of Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs. Cool. Okay. Number one. Number two is Olympic gymnast Simone Biles, and she's dating Jonathan. No, she's not dating. They actually are married. Jonathan Owens of the Chicago Bears. I don't think I really need to explain that one either. She kind of had a big summer this past year. So if you don't know, I'm a little embarrassed for you, but queen nonetheless. And I saw her come across my timeline yesterday. She was wearing the cutest outfit to the game. So live, laugh,
is she a wag or is he just married to the goat? Like, we had this conversation.
Yeah. Can it be a tie?
Married to the goat. No.
He's married to the goat. Like, honestly,
just
be real, but trying to give him a little bit of flowers. 3, singer and actress Haley Steinfeld is dating boyfriend Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Also, just gotta say, last night I was playing Sims. Sean was watching that Buffalo Bill games. He did kind of take a big bump to the chest. I hope he's doing okay. But yeah, they're together. She's a queenie. She is an actress. You might have seen her in Pitch Perfect. She also was in True Grit. I'm pretty sure she was nominated for an Oscar for that. So she's kind of a big deal. And she hasn't been shown on TV, which I don't really think she gives a fuck, but I would love to see it because I think she was just like slaying at the games. Number 4 is Olivia Culpo. She's married to Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. He's out with an injury, but they had like a big wedding this year. She's just kind of like, you know, the main queenie of the 49ers in my mind. And she also was Miss USA in 2012. And I don't know if you know, she dated Nick Jonas. So like 10 years ago, that was like a really hot tea for me specifically. But I love to see her just like continue to go everywhere and just do life, you know, like, and she's just every week serving us outfits. So I love that for us and for her. And then lastly, I know I'm talking a lot and I'm trying to go fast because we've been talking for so long, is Sierra. And I have to give her flowers. She's married to Russell Wilson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know he's not with the Seahawks anymore.
Emergency
but,
third quarterback.
Yeah. So yeah. But Sierra gave us like iconic hits in the early 2000s. So I had to shout out Girl Sierra. You know, I'd love to go even more into it. I think it's just like a separate episode, but we do have Hannah Ann and Victoria from The Bachelor. They're both out there giving us some stuff. And then also, like, we didn't even discuss the Alex Earl of it all, which is like kind of shocking because she does kind of pop up on my feed a lot.
Who that is.
Oh,
we
don't
might
know
have
who
to
Alex...
go into that.
Who
Okay,
Alex
so
Earl
that
I
was
have to
no.
know.
Oh, okay.
I don't either. Should we?
Go.
What the fuck?
Who's Alex Earl?
Let us know who Alex Earl is.
Educate us.
Okay, yeah, she's like a huge content creator on TikTok, and she's dating. What the hell is his name? He's on the Dolphin. Braxton Berrios. There we go. She's with Braxton Berrios. Yeah, they're giving Barbie and Ken, and it is intense. We can go into that later, but who do y'all know?
Speaking of Barbie and Ken, I think the person who taught me what a wag, like brought that even into my like world, was Victoria Beckham and David Beckham, or Victorian David. So let's talk about that for football, a different football, but they were, I think, the first like couple that I saw, like mega couple that I saw in my childhood coming up. So shout out to Victoria. But I also just remember learning about what wags were in the game, the show that was on, I think, UPN or CW or something back in the day.
Yeah.
But one of the Mowry twins was in it. Tia Mowry was in it as med school. And they just kind of taught us about what their world looks like, right? It gave us more of a focus on what the wags were doing. So really cool there. I also feel like, you know, I have to hold it down for the Seahawks. You know, I'm an R&B girly, so Sierra is probably my favorite wag. She was like the princess of Seattle when Russ was here too, so that was really cool. And also, fun fact, I don't know if many folks know this or if you two know, but she also set up Normani of Fifth Harmony fame with DK Metcalf, who is a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. And they're a really cute couple. Also talk about Barbie and Ken right there as well. And they were pretty low key. Well, they're pretty low key. I think the only reason why folks kind of know is because they hard launched at Tyler Lockett's wedding. They posted a photo. It was a really cute photo. His outfit wasn't so cute. Like, he had a tux on, but it was shorts. In Metcalf's outfit was a little questionable, but they were really cute together in the photo. You have to pull it up, Chelsea, and take a look at that. I'd love your thoughts on it. But I think it's also really critical to just kind of acknowledge the fact that, like, sure, we are talking about them as wags, but they also are all like entrepreneurs and like really strong, successful women in their own right. And they like use their platform, added additional platform, right, to like do really good in the community. I know Sierra has been at the Children's Hospital here when she was in Seattle, and she probably is still doing the same in Pittsburgh, even though, you know, his role has kind of, you know, gotten smaller on the team. But I think it's also really important for us to note that. And I think a sleeper one, I really want to throw this out there, fun fact, Kerry Washington is also married to a former football player. Yeah, her husband, Namdi Asemwa, I want to say that correctly, but he played for the Oakland Raiders, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers, and they dated while he was playing, and they got married after he retired. And when he retired, he started executive producing and acting, and he's done a really good job doing that too. So shout out to them, because I don't think they get talked about a lot.
No.
Yeah, I didn't even know that till I read her book, her new book, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, you know that I don't know very much about this topic.
She's like, I'm watching the
field. No surprise there. I will say one thing, because I remember, like, so I feel like Aaron Rodgers has, like, in the past dated famous, like, I remember when he was dating Olivia Munn. I think he dated Danica. Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
Danica Patrick, yeah. The race car driver. And then she also married to Shailene Wooley, which is an actress, which was wild to me.
They were married?
I thought or maybe they were engaged.
No.
They got engaged.
Maybe they were engaged.
But then they broke it off.
I don't think they're together anymore. Okay, yes.
No, they're not.
Same page.
But what I always found really frustrating, even though I don't follow this, and I remember it happened with Jessica Simpson when she was dating Tony Romo. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And it even happened with Sierra, happened with Taylor Swift, is when these famous NFL players are dating these celebrity women, and all of a sudden, if anything's going wrong with their game, then people want to jump on and like start hating on the women and blaming them for the poor performance. And then Sierra really, I don't know if y'all remember, but like people really did that. And so I think that's just like BS of like blaming it. Of course, they're going to blame it on the women coming in. Like people hardcore tried to do that last year with Taylor Swift, and they're even now trying to do it because apparently Kelsey's not coming out the gates, but he was also like, it's football, our team's winning, like I don't care about the personal stats in the same kind of way. So shout out to the WAGs, and the ladies for just making their way. And like it's not easy dating a professional athlete and all the stuff that comes with it. Yeah.
You know, you make a good point. Like, they get all of the hate when the players aren't playing well, but none of the love when they are playing well. Yeah. We just named some really big fucking names, you know? Like, oh, they don't get any of that support. I know that the women are behind the scenes making sure that, you know, their guys feel uplifted and encouraged even when they're not playing well. So we're going to give them their dues. They, like you said, it's not easy probably being in the limelight like that. And then having all of that pressure put on you even when you're not even playing on the field. So
yeah. And like like you said, Wahidah, they're like entrepreneurs. They've got their own stuff that they are also working on and managing.
Careers, yeah.
You know, I could talk about it for hours, but I won't. We're gonna wrap it up. I hate to say it. We're going to wrap it up.
We've practiced a lot of restraint.
Yeah, this is like probably our longest episode too, and we're like, there's still more, but it's okay.
That's like passionate I am. No. You know what? With that, let us know, what NFL WAG are you watching this season? Or drop a comment on our YouTube, IG, TikTok at the Sport and Society Squad and let us know what sport movies to watch.
Yes, and don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the latest sports and society stories.
Yes, and please rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.